One. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Office Hours. We are very, very excited to see you here. I am here with my fellow colleague, August. Hi, August.
Hey, nice to see you, everyone.
Nice to see
Well,
you. How is everyone doing? How are you doing, August? Any fun update in your world?
yeah, actually, last Friday, I had this intuitive sense. I saw somebody posting, hey, there's going to be a showing of this old movie from 2 years ago at this theater.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh, you know what? Why would they be posting if they're not going to be there? And then so I went, and I was right. The whole cast from the movie was there, and I got to meet my favorite actor, Sam.
No. I
And
think it is so incredible when you go to the movie premieres and you actually get to see the people who participated in the premiere, the movie, and then you get to talk to them. I feel like that's the craziest experience. I'm like, I just saw you on screen. You were a totally different character.
yeah. Oh, the funniest one, there was a guy who was a meth addict with a long ponytail, and he came up to the front of the stage in just like a suit, and he's so clean cut. And I was like,
Oh
that
my
was oh
gosh.
my God. They did a whole Q&A. It was crazy.
That's crazy. I absolutely love it when I see the characters like kind of as themselves, like the actor themselves. And they're like 180 of the person that they played. I mean, that's the beauty of acting, I guess. But like to me, it's like, but you were a meth addict with a long ponytail and now you're the sharp cut man in a blazer. My brain doesn't make sense, but I love it.
Yeah, you guys would be very surprised what I do off screen. And look how clean cut I look.
Oh no. What are we going to find out about August?
Well, I just don't like wearing clothes.
That's true. Me as well. Me as well. We have a new poll going on. Speaking of clothes, the poll is: would you rather be chronically underdressed or chronically overdressed? Ooh, this is the
Mm.
question of the century. I already know my answer, and I'm proud to say I am an overdresser. I love dressing up for events. People are always like, Celine, how do you have the outfits for every occasion? Whether it's going to Super Mario World in Universal. I had a whole outfit for that. I had a Mario hat with like the jean trousers and everything. So people were with a star bag. It's a bag, but it's in the shape of a star. And I was doing my Mario pose, and everybody's like, Celine, you're always like dressed so wonderfully. So I am happy to be an overdresser, but I want to see your opinion, August. Would you feel like
Uh,
stupid if you're overdressed to work, or like
I guess it depends if this is like a life decision that I'm making
life
where I have to
decision
do all the okay. So I
forever,
have to do
forever?
if it was a magic decision where I just wake up and I'm overdressed, I'll take that. But if I have to think about it, then we'll just go with what I already do. Just throw on a t-shirt and some jeans and go into the office.
But what if it's your wedding? You got to think about things.
Oh, yeah, that's a good. I'll have to move to Canada where they do denim tuxedos.
Is that what they do in Canada? I have to ask Carol and Mingus now. I'm confused about the validity of this.
It's true. I read it on Wikipedia in 2005.
Hi, Rachel and Bruno. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I love the sparkly emojis. Um, it must definitely be true if you read it on Wikipedia. But speaking of Canada, as I'm about to say something that is like totally unrelated to our previous conversation, I got this new tea from Trader Joe's, and it is like a maple syrup green something tea, and I've been using it to make milk tea, and it's the most delicious milk tea I've made. So definitely if you're in an area that carries Trader Joe's and has this, check it out. I'll maybe show it at the screen at the end, but definitely super super good. Steven is saying, love that you just mentioned Canadian tuxedos. Yes, you never know where our topic is going to go. Sounds good. Okay, I think let's get started with the our office hours. Let us know if you guys have any questions about the projects. Speaking of, we had an effect jam last Friday where you guys joined August in creating another wonderful level for Dessert Dash. I want to see what you guys have created during that journey. So if you made something, even if it's like a work in progress, send take a screenshot and share it on the Effect House live Discord channel. Under Effect House, if you go to all of the channel section, there should be a channel called Effect House Lives. Please post a screenshot. I want to see what you made. I have not a doubt in my head that you guys loved that video because so many of you tuned in until the very end. So please let us know. Bruno is saying, I've never tried maple syrup. We don't find it easily in Brazil. And usually when we find it in stores, it's super expensive. I didn't know that.
I wonder if he's talking about the maple syrup in the glass jars that's
Yeah.
like authentic,
Yeah.
or Mrs. Butterworth's high fructose corn syrup with a little bit of maple in it.
But when we get a chance to visit Brazil or when you're coming over to the US, let us know and we'll bring you a bottle of maple syrup for sure, for sure. Okay, I'm seeing the polls and they're becoming more leaning towards overdress, but it's a really close tie. Chronically underdressed is 44% and overdress is 56%. So we got to see. August, any templates that you've been eyeing on recently? One of your favorites that's been released?
Well, let's take a look at what is out. Oh, I'm trying to think. I've been showing this one around the office, but I don't think I've shown it during office hours because I think it very recently released. Maybe we can take a look at Bouncing Ball. It's one of my favorites. We can also look. You also might want to check out Flag. Maybe I won't go over that one because it's pretty simple. But let's go look at Bouncing Ball. You can see I'm pledging my allegiance to the alien flag on the flag cover. Okay, so here we are. Oh, interesting. Oh, I've never seen that. Okay, so in this project, I did not work on this one at all, but I just love it so much. My coworker is really good at making things look really good with Effect House with very limited assets. So this is a great example of what you can do with just built-in things like the post-processing chromatic aberration and the just some simple stuff controlled with complex visual scripting. It gets pretty complicated, but we won't dive into that. Take a look. This ball is a physics object, and when you draw, you draw these platforms. And you just want to get the ball as high as possible, and it can bounce against the walls. And when it grabs a power up, it does that flashy chromatic aberration thing. So just looking at the visual scripting graph, there's a lot of stuff that you can change with just editing these values. And it'll basically change how you're drawing this platform, how it interacts with the ball, how many platforms you can draw, all that kind of stuff. But I just think this leaves it wide open to create so many variations of this game that could be more fun than the original even. But it's very smooth, especially on a phone when you're not streaming your webcam to a live stream. You definitely lose a couple of frames from making your MacBook do a little too much work. But try it on a device. It's so smooth and so fun. Yeah, so a couple of things I'll point out. I guess there's just a lot of this is the UI and stuff, and then you have the platforms here. They're opened up. So there's 4 platforms, and we're just cycling through them. So I think everyone should get familiar with that concept. It's called pooling. That's why this is called platform pools, because this is a pool of our platforms. And so when we want to use a new one, we just grab the last one that we haven't used yet, or the oldest one, and we move it back to the top of the pool and use it. And then when we're done, we throw it back into the pool. So yeah, that's a great way to reuse a set of objects and make it look like you're creating them out of thin air.
That's
Yeah,
really interesting. So, without having to add that many objects, you're just basically recycling. So you're using less megabytes.
exactly. So it looks like we could add like 100 platforms, but there's only 4 total.
This is so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think there's people are going to come up with some really fun ideas for this one.
Can't wait to see what you guys create with this template. We do have a question. Catalina is asking, I am developing an effect and looking forward to display generative effects to multiple faces. Is it possible to apply generative effects to multiple faces?
Well, let's take a look at the newest version and see what we have available. So what's my favorite one? Let's see. I'll just go with cartoon. Is that? I'll go with aged, a classic. Yes, nice and crispy. So if we take this aged, we can change it between texture and distortion. I'm not exactly sure what that does. It doesn't look like there's really any other settings though. I think it's pretty hard coded. Here's the age distortion. So this is the distortion one. 2 components of the same kind of thing. Yeah, and then if we switch it to both, it looks so much more realistic on these previews, I feel like, because they're like higher quality video than my webcam. Yeah, that would be a great feature request to put in so that it can work on multiple people. I would put that in the Discord, put in a feature request, and
in our community forum page, there is a whole dedicated section called feature request. And if you put in your request and other people also think it's a good request, they can upvote it and then it climbs to the top. And the more people you have it upvote your request, the more likely that it is seen and made into a new feature. So keep that in mind. I think it's really interesting the things that people recommend. I always go to the forum and read it, sometimes upvote it. I'm like, yes, I need this as a feature. So definitely go check it out. Okay, we have another question. How to deactivate the rear camera of the cell phone by programming. This might also be another feature request, but is there a way to encourage people to only use the front end of the camera? Maybe August might know.
Well, you can force it to the back camera by using AR. So if you wanted to do AR tracking and added an AR plane, you now have this AR camera in your scene, an AR plane. So that will force it to always use the back cam, and there's no way to switch it back to your front cam. So if that's what you want, then that could be helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Bruno is asking, will these new templates arrive for us this week? I just saw it and I don't have it yet. I think this will come with the 3.7 update. So if you haven't already, you can patiently wait for the update. Or if you're an ambassador, you can check the Discord channel. But you guys should have it soon. And as you can see, as August has showed you, there's so many cool features. So definitely, I'm crossing my hands until I get the update. Mito is asking, is there a way to convert the drawing into a collision object or draw a collision object with finger touch?
Oh, I guess we'll go back to the ball bounce. Yeah, so I guess we could find in the visual scripting where we do this, but realistically, I think this is just creating a box collider when you're drawing. So there's a couple different things going on. So this is, whenever I looked into this and reviewed it, I will say this is very complex for what I expected. There's like a lot of visual scripting. Background pool manager, power up controller, game over manager, UI controller, camera controller. Okay, set platform based on touch. Maybe it's that one. Cool. So these, I like how they're set up so they also have their own options. It's almost like it was designed so that you could take out this specific subgraph and use it without the whole rest of the project. That's pretty nice. And then this whole pool manager thing. So you could take this whole set of subgraphs and bring it into another project where you're drawing 3D box colliders. I would take a careful look at this and just see what it's doing. It basically, where is the pool? Platform pools. Okay, so it doesn't have access to the platform pools object, the parent object, but it does specifically list out each pool. So each one of these basically is a box collider. You can see this one is 0, this one is 1. And then they also have their IDs here. So we have 0, 1, and then, yeah, all 4 of them. And then they have access to their rigid bodies, sphere colliders. Oh, that's the ball's sphere collider. Okay, so they have access to, I guess, something that's going to collide with them. And then they have some things like the platform's scale, so how large it will render. And I'm guessing that applies to the mesh and the box collider. So let's take a look. Wow. Wow. So first we can see right off the bat, they're storing some variables that they'll reuse later, tucking them over on the side, storing some other variables on start instead of update or on touch. And then we're going over here, and then it looks like on touch, while you're dragging, it's checking the distance traveled, making sure that it's using the right pool, only if it's time to drag this current pool ID. Otherwise, I think it just falls out in this false. So only one of these 4 subgraphs will be operating when you're dragging, and it will probably cycle through them. And then up here, we've got a bunch of stuff happening. Yeah, screen to world position. That's a nice little convenient subgraph that probably does converts screen to world. And then, yeah, so we're turning stuff off and on basically when you start touching and when you drag. It seems like this is just a bunch of math to make sure the box is facing the right direction. We've got the look at to do that, and then we've got this stuff here to scale the box in the right way. Oh yeah, and look at it. I forgot that there's little comments in the corner here. So set platform scale, set rotation. So yeah, this is pretty nice. It is complicated, so I think you would have to be familiar with visual scripting, but it looks like this is very nicely laid out. So where you're going to go if you want to do something similar, and just take a look at the different pieces here. Take the pieces you want. It's going to be in bouncing ball controller, and there's 4 of these right in the top level subgraph. Set platform based on touch in bouncing ball controller. And those are going to help you draw box colliders. Alternatively, you could just kind of modify this project as well, and take out the ball, take out the background, keep the drawable platforms, maybe change the texture, change the mesh, and you could use this project as a base, I think, for most of the cases where you would do that. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if there's anything specific that you want me to poke in at on this subgraph.
I can't wait to see what creative uses people have with this. In my very dark idea, it could be like don't drop the kitty, and it could just be like you're, instead of drawing platforms like spools of yarn and then the ball is a kitty and it's like bouncing. I don't know, I would love to play that game personally. Okay, we have another question. They're asking, Osegovia is asking, screen tap with multiple actions. Hi, I'm developing an effect with three rigid objects. When the user tap on the screen, one falls. Then the user tap on it again, and then the second 3D object falls. Then the user taps on it again, and the third object falls. I did the node with an if condition, but only works with two objects. Where can I learn more about the script to solve that issue and another that will come in the future? So I think they're just basically asking, how can you program in a way that if you touch it one time, the first one falls, the second time, and then the second one falls, the third time, and the third one falls.
Yeah, let's I guess I'll just assume that your logic to make something fall is just, I'll just swap it out for set visibility because I don't know what you have pre-programmed there. And then we'll just do a switch. This might be the part that you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having an if statement, using a counter with a switch lets you do a lot of things. So say that you have one of these for each of the three balls you're trying to drop. You could plug in these three switch trigger executable lines. And then whenever you screen tap, finger, or yeah, it's just finger touch now, right? Oh no, I can't spell. Finger touch. Okay, so on start, so when you start touching, basically this counts as a tap. So this could be like on tap if you do this. I think that's all you need. And then I would say from 0 to 3. Or 4 if you don't want it to do anything after it's done. Now, the way to test this is what I always tell people, is look at the little blue dots in front of the little trigger, and when those blink blue, that means that it's executing. So I always like to test things by just doing one tap. It's the second one. 2 taps. It's the third one. Oh no. So basically this first one would be 0. And that's because when we do this first one, it starts at 0, but when we tap, it turns to 1. So it skips that first index. So if you want it to start from your first index, so you don't have to do some weird hack around, just change your from to -1. And then when you first tap, it should be the top one. And then you tap again, it should be the second one down. And then you tap again, it's the third one. So you can execute 3 different pieces of code in order. And then if you wanted to, a lot of times when you do something like this, it's going to be cyclical. It's going to be like after it goes to executes the third one, it goes back up. If you ever want to do that, just make sure that you have a mod plus your start. So it would be like mod add -1. So mod is just a way to say after it reaches this number, go back to 0, is the way that I like to explain it. It's called modulo. It's from math. If you've ever heard of math, I sometimes used to do it. Okay, so if we did that, then we would probably remove this because we're adding that -1 here instead. And then, okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, oh, okay, it gets stuck there. Well, there's some more math to do on that one because I just need to set this to like a really high number so it doesn't max out at 4. And then that should go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and it's not doing the last one because we're maybe modding on 3 instead of 4. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then oops. Okay, it goes back to -1 too fast. Okay, I think you just have to do one other thing with this -1, but essentially that's it. Um,
That was very useful. I think we should do a lot more of these like small subgraph sections. I think they could be super interesting, especially if you're starting out. I've been getting a lot of questions from people like, "Hey, is there any like a list of reserves of subgraphs where I can like go and see how they're made? Maybe I should make like a repository of all of the small visual scripting graphs that we've created in office hours. I bet that we have so much. So I'll get on to compiling those into a useful resource. Bruno, thank you so much for letting us know that the live was unlisted. I think many, many more people could join because of you. If you're just joining now, thank you so much for joining. I see Forduck. Joshua 19 is asking, is it even possible to use this template without a knowledge of math? What do you think, August?
Yeah, I think for instance, you have the ball, right? You don't need to be like hacking away at the deep subgraphs of this to make something unique. You could do something totally different. Just like add more, duplicate this ball and have more of these balls, and then I don't know, just change some of the textures. I think instead of making the camera follow the ball to go up, you could just find that part where the camera is being controlled and just get rid of that subgraph and make it this thing where the ball, when it bounces out of the screen, it comes back down. And then you could do some more complex thing where you set all 4 platforms somewhere as a puzzle. And then when all 4 platforms have been set, let the ball drop and try to get into a goal. I don't think you need too
Mm.
much. I don't think you need too much math for that kind of stuff. You just have to be able to pick through the subgraphs and figure out which ones to delete some functionality, and maybe how to tweak some of the other ones.
Yeah, personally for me, I feel like it would be super cool if the platforms are there, but you can't see where they are. So they're invisible platforms, and you have to like try to place your ball strategically to get it in the goal, but you don't know where the platforms are. So it's like half luck and half thing, and the platforms are randomized, so you won't even know what's the optimal way. So
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a cool idea. I like the
yeah.
invisible platforms thing. Mm.
I see that more people are joining and voting. Chronically Underdressed is now winning by a lot, guys. Before it was very close. It was like 50-50, but now it is winning by 70%. Let me present my counter argument as a person who chose Chronically Overdressed. What about your wedding? What about your funeral? You don't you want to like leave, uh, enter a new journey of your world, looking fleek and stylish? Like you're marrying the love of your life. You're holding their hands and you're looking into their eyes and you're like, I love you so much. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. In in a sweatshirt. I don't know. So that is my argument, but it must be really difficult to be chronically overdressed, especially after a long day where I just want to come home and be a couch potato and rest on my couch. And I'm in like full couture gown that's like squishing me. But you got to remember, this is a very important decision for all of your life. Think like your life depends on it. What are you guys going to do?
That
Let
is a
me
really
know
good
if I've
point.
convinced any of you. But I also see a mirror. Is this our mirror? Hi guys, welcome. Oh, okay. Mito has a question. Mito says, I have a question. Have the challenges been permanently canceled and replaced with monthly missions? No, they're still going on. There's periods of time where we might not run a challenge, but it doesn't mean that it's like completely canceled. It just means that we have a little spacing, but we will come back to you with even more exciting and fun updates. Okay. Um, so thank you for answering that, August. I think it was very, very helpful.
Here's the logic if you wanted to follow it. This little 3 is just the number of options. So if you change this to like 5, then it'll cycle through 5 options.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay. This person is working on a game effect where the game starts and shows the score. The total score is 50, and if the game score is 15, they press tab to increase the score timer. Um, wait, I'm trying to understand this question. I I'm not really sure what this question is asking, but I will definitely come back to the question. Speaking of, we have another office hours later today. So if you have more questions or if this is not a good like time zone for you, you can definitely come to the one for our at APAC time zone. So we will be doing it with Mingus and our lovely community manager Vanessa. So you will be able to join us there as well. In terms of perfect. Oh, Amir, this is our Amir from the
oh,
office. Thank you,
nice.
Amir, so much for joining. August, what is your favorite template by Amir? Please show us.
Am I allowed to say it? It's the bouncing ball that we're looking at right now.
Oh my gosh, not the wait, did Amir also work on the llama template
Yeah.
or
Okay. I
yeah,
said that
yeah.
was my favorite last week.
So
But
all
I
of
can think,
Amir's templates are your favorites, August.
yeah, definitely.
Personally, for me, nothing can beat the llama template. It's just so fun, and I love the way the next bounces. If you guys were here last week, we know that you guys know that we talked about the llama template and how you can even modify the template to basically get the chain kind of reaction. So if you want to do something where you have a pinpoint on your face, like a really bushy Santa's beard, and you just want to move it and it shakes, you can modify that template. You can use it in so many fun different ways. So if you're interested in learning more about that, go check out last week's template. But we love it, love it, love it. But this is your new favorite, you're saying?
Uh, it's hard to say. I go back and forth. I just like I love the design of these. It's
They're
just such a fun
so
design.
expertly well done. I feel like each of these new templates is like its own iOS like old tiny game apps, you know?
Yeah. Like we're playing games on Newgrounds on the old web.
Okay, we are getting more questions. Joshua19 is asking, should it also work to create a football effect with this template? Like if the ball is reaching 1,000, a transition would happen and the ball goes to the goal between X's minus 75 to 75.
I think so.
Football
Are
game.
we talking about the bouncing ball game?
I think so.
I mean, yeah. Is that imagining that the camera is over the football field looking down? Is this like a top down kind of trying to imagine what this idea is? That sounds doable. Just getting the ball is the player running down the field, or the ball is actually being like kicked into a field goal. I
Oh,
guess
this kind of also reminds me of like foosball. Speaking of all the bouncing and the ball, so maybe instead of it looking like a platform, you can make it to look like foosball characters from top down. And by where you can do it, you can set the bounciness, and you might be able to bounce back. We'll see.
yeah.
Okay. Danny is asking, I have a question. Is there an easier way to add collider for objects like cup?
For a cup.
Yeah, maybe because it's like it goes in and out. So maybe like a collider on the outside and then a collider on
Oh,
the inside.
I get what you're saying. Interesting. So I've done a bucket, and that works okay.
Yes.
It depends what you need it for, because if you need it, I'll show you this simple way. So I'll just do a new project. Okay, so you can sort of do this where you have a cube and so we'll add a box collider. Now, keep in mind, this is something I've discovered, but if you use the box collider on an object that doesn't have a rigid body, it will still work as a collider, but it behaves a little differently than if it's on something with a rigid body. It's almost like without the rigid body, it doesn't have mass, is what I describe it as. So if you want to add a rigid body to this, it might make it behave more realistically. And you just click is static if you want to still have control over it. And that's similar to Unity's is kinematic, if you're familiar with that. Okay, so scale. We can just shrink this, duplicate it. And then duplicate both of these. And oh, I just remembered. I think if you rotate multiple, it'll rotate around their individual origins. Okay, so let's just let's see, rotate. I'll just change the scale. So we'll just select this. Oh, not 0. We'll
A
do
bird
this.
just squeaked really loudly, I think from outside your window, and it really sounded like a movie sound effect. You know, it sounded like a very typical bird. Okay, sorry to distract you. Go back to
Oh,
your
oh yeah, you can hear my typical birds out there.
Yeah, we can hear everything from garbage trucks. We haven't seen one of those recently. I'm actually starting to miss them. They're the iconic office hours icon.
Yep. Sometimes I still catch them on Tuesdays before I head into the office. Okay. Sorry. This feels like I'm like slowly building something with like Play-Doh or something, and you guys are just all watching me. It's
No worries. We're just watching you play with Play-Doh. And also, speaking of, I moved my cat tower here because you guys are always missing them, and you're like, "Where are the cats? I want to see the cats." So now they're closer to us. So um, when we get a lot of good questions, I'll switch them over so you guys can enjoy the cats.
so this I just wanted to show how it will work with a sphere. Oh, so I'll have to make the sphere a little smaller, and then these cubes, as you can see, they're box collider by default fits the default cube. We don't have to click fit mesh, and I think it should be fine. You can see the green outline is the box collider, so you can see it's fit on here correctly. I'll just double check for you guys that everything's set up correctly by dropping a ball into the bucket, and it shouldn't fall through. So let's put a sphere collider on this bad boy. Let's add a rigid body, and we'll start it as is static and then reset so we can see it hovering. Oops. And then unclick is static to drop it through. And it caught the ball. So this is like the classic simple bucket. If you wanted to simplify it even more, you could do some other things like creating just like a triangle bucket. And then you would just have one less box collider. But I think that's the simplest way to try to make a cup. And then, of course, if you need it to be more detailed, you can add more box colliders. Just remember that box colliders, adding up more of them, will have a small cost. So just your firstborn child. No, I'm just your performance. If you add like 50 boxes, you might have to start worrying about how much which phones can run the processes and stuff. So box colliders are one of those things that the performance cost builds up over time or over how many you have. So just keep an eye on that. This isn't basically nothing. This is 5 box colliders. You're totally fine on a modern phone.
Okay, sounds good. I see that a lot of people are joining. Kasai even called you, I think, Effect House Dumbledore. That is the sweetest, most incredible thing I've heard. I think if somebody called me Effect House Dumbledore, or Dumbledore, I would freak out and be so honored. So I think that's a great compliment. Thank you so much, guys, for joining today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm so sorry if you guys just joined, but we have another office hour session today in a couple hours. So I'll talk to you guys soon.
Next week, we'll be taking a dip into my pensieve to take a look at the first time that I saw a video game.
Oh, what?
No, I don't have a pensieve. I was lying.
I'm so confused. This is typical Dumbledore behavior. Okay, bye, guys. It was so nice seeing you today. Hope you have a great rest of your day.